Yes, indeed. You're live on KEXP right now. My name is Larry Mizell, Jr., host of the afternoon show here in the live room at KEXP. So happy to be here with my man, my brother, Seattle's own, PrometheusBrown.
Hey.
What's happening, bro?
It is so good to be back.
Man, it's good to see you in here.
Yeah. This is very purpley up in here.
Oh, yeah, all day. Going up for the purple one always, man.
Yeah.
It's a good tone. Brings out the highlights.
Yes, indeed.
You got some music for us?
I do. I got, well, shout out to my Beat Rock Music Collective fam, the West Coast. You know, we doing it. And I got 2 EPs that I dropped pre-pandemic, and then 2 more that are coming down soon, and then hopefully this full length by early next year.
Fantastic. Looking forward to hearing it. Love seeing you on the mic, man. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do this. All right, so this is off those EPs I was talking about. Okay. What up, Info? Let's go. Check. Yeah. Hot take, vitriol, mansplain, campaign, maintain. Look at y'all, mad lane. God dang, good people doing bad things. Fences on an arbitrary line. Obsolete, out of time, harken to romanticized past, that's a lie. Wrote the first lines of the song in July. It's still July. Glass shattered like Grandmaster Melly Mel observed. Aftermath massacre, that's the word. First to ask, last to learn. Nutshell America, nutsack hysteria. None shall compare to us. That's a bold ass statement. Stalemate adjacent. Checkmate, endgame, patience. We're them Asians, not the crazy rich, but the broken, the same ones. Same ones who came from dirt poor slums and villages. Far from fantastic and sicker than Dilla was. Where dictators reign, so they know it when we see one, and we owe it to all the previous seasons. There's no reruns, it sounds clear to us. Hear it in the pattern, rhythm repetition, anticipated laughter. Nothing lasts forever, except for forever. And that's some shit your basic friends say to sound clever. Just another hot take, vitriol, mansplain, campaign, maintain. Look at y'all, mad lane. God dang, good people doing bad things. Bad people talking good game. Look. Hot take, vitriol, mansplain, campaign, maintain. Look at y'all, mad lane. God dang, good people doing bad things. Bad people talking good game. They want the product, not the people who make it. They want the music, not the struggle it came from. They want the love with no hatred. They want the hatred with no justification. They want the fruits without the labor, food without the flavor, books without the paper, risk without the danger, hoods with no neighbors, names with no faces. They want no problems but don't offer solutions. They want wins without the skin that was sticking from losing. They want strength without recovery, peace without justice, death with no substance, with no loving. They want the G to OD over nothing. They want entitled opinions without the civil discussions. They want the change without the pain, greenery without the rain. They want it all. They want it all. They'll take it all. They took it all. They want superficial representation of economically and culturally marginalized people without actual redistribution of capital, or at the very least more equitable access to resources in accordance to one's needs and contributions. In other words, they want diverse oppressors without addressing the question of land possession. And that's the question. You got a question? Listen. That's another hot take. Vitriol, mansplain, campaign, maintain. Look at y'all, mad lane. God dang, good people doing bad things. Bad people talking good game. Hot take. Vitriol, mansplain, campaign, maintain. Look at y'all, mad lane. God dang, good people doing bad things. Bad people talking good game. Beat rock. Pills used to work at night. used to work and now they don't. They wanna double up the dose, I said no. Shoving hope inside our throat, hoping that we choke. If we don't, then it's time to bring the rope. Mood swing, blue dream, trying to do things. Paranoia, feeling like the truth is on a shoestring. Loose ends, allergy to groupthink. Who am I to judge? We just wanna feel like we belong. Got a lot of virtual friends but feel alone. Drowning in your feed on that Dead Sea, scrolling the whole polarized landscape. We looking for some changes. Moms used to call it high blood when we anxious. Hurt people, so they said. But hurt people often the first to hurt themselves. See no difference from legitimate threats to a citizen in need of some help. And we was all taught not to talk about mental health. Kept it like a secret. Family helpless and under siege, well-intentioned. Saying that depression is a rich man's disease. But we ain't ballin', so what that mean to me? No wonder we don't talk about it. That stigma gon' follow you to your grave when they found out about it. They gon' justify your verdict cause you represent a glitch. They rather fix it. They'll be fine without us. What happens when the market grows unfettered? Telling us to work through the trauma we inherit. Hustle boat left, now it's sinking. Some will go down with it, but the rest of us is reaching our limit. Irrational world, trying to tell us that we lazy. Maybe, or maybe the world the one who crazy. I'm done campaigning using other people's names, saying the same thing for like 7 albums straight. From Antioch to any block, you see a darker face. Veteran or not, get erased and replaced. Why they sending out killers to do a healer's job? And they wonder why we scared of those who say they keep us safe. Angelo, I see you and me. Both our biggest fears be a death and police. May you rest in peace. Shout to all my fam who's in the streets. They kill us in our homelands, forcing us to leave. Now they trying to kill us where we work, where we eat, where we meet, where we try to raise our kids. They'll even run up in your crib. Welcome to America. Live in fear, die in grief. When all we trying to do is breathe. 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 Old heads, time to fall back and let them lead. All we trying to do is breathe. Breathe. All we trying to do is breathe. All we trying to do is breathe. All we trying to do is breathe. Okay, so I've been gone for a minute. I gotta acknowledge that. And I'm gonna tell y'all where I've been, but before that, I'm gonna tell you where I'm at right now. But I seen it, man. I seen it coming. Listen, seen it coming from a million miles away. Like people who study comets and shit in outer space. Not just the saying, it's the way that we've been raised. Don't believe the hype was a phrase people praise. Now we just depraved, or maybe always was. Maybe Bama's right, we just pray with a prayer and a gun. Or maybe I'm no longer who I was. Maybe shouldn't have taken all them drugs. Made it sound like I was doing hella drugs, but it was more like 7 on a scale of 21. I did a lot of shit, but really only with one. I maybe 2 or 3, but it was really fun. Kids stay in school even though we made that song. Challenge everything you hear no matter who the source. Filter all that noise, listen to your boys. But if your boys on that toxic shit, check your boys. This is not advice. This is just life fixated on the lens, filtrated through the analog device. Monochrome film grain portrait of the artist. Was the youngest of the old heads, no less starving than I was when I started. Hungrier than ever, not from not eating, but more from eating better. No meals for certain, both both wheels are turning, but in opposite directions. And I'm out here swerving, sipping bourbon, observing from the earth nerve center. Turned 21 right before the 9 hit 11. Decade survivor of Saturn's return. Got a lot to say when it's long since you last been heard. Told myself, listen, twice as much as you talk. Talking for 10, I'm about to take 20 off. 30 blacked out, suffered memory loss. And 40-ounce bottles I could never recall, but I'm good. At least half the ride, the other half asking, the other half why. Guess that applies to all things that die. Can't tell if I'm the last or the first of my kind. Chilling like I got 3 lives like mankind, and I'm going back and forth like all the damn time, man. My name's Gio, I've been gone from Attentionville. I slay devils till there's no more left to kill. Many levels, every boss has a weakness. At least that's my thesis from all that I have witnessed here. Fast money, invisible scraps, pickled mango, bachata, self-preservation raps. If they ask how long does that meditation last, tell them long as it takes for an empire's collapse. Wanna capture the essence of that man. Stop making shit inside a lab. Still trying to be a better dad. Still trying to be a better man. I seen it coming. I seen this, man. Listen. I seen it coming from a million miles away. Like people who study comets and shit in outer space. Not just a saying, it's the way that we've been raised. Don't be afraid. Wagmatako means 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 chipping at my liver. Chained to a rock on that brown liquor. Man, myth, legend. Started as a fan. Tell my stuff is still land shattering the river. There's more coming. I've been writing. I've been in the kitchen. And it's good to be back. And it's not all sad. I haven't been out of this time zone in so long. But when I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Up all night in NY, up early in Hawaii. Ay, everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Up all night in NY, up. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Dollar on the hook, see that's that never mind. Up till 20. It's like I'm 25 and you can take the kid out the West Coast. You know the rest. Bottle of Fernet in my left, like Equipto said. Gio, where you been? I've been feeding on my people like I'm Chef T. Riding on the 7 like it's 07. Want my time, take my time. You can't take my time. Time is all I have. Trying to make it truly mine. You've been waiting all this time. Been slaying all this time. I've been timing, minding time. Timing mine, minding time. Yo, time zones invented by the white man. Arbitrary lines up and down these white men. So I'm time traveling whenever my flight land. Take my own time with me like a hype man. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Up all night in NY, up early in Hawaii. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Up all night in NY. Hey, everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Slow motion on the island, working overtime. I swear to God, I've been biding all my time. I've been gone, I've been writing, I've been up for 2 hours and it's gone. You can take the kid out the West Coast. You know the song, Bottle of Ginebra in my right, like I'm Uncle Bong. Gio, where you been? I've been off my social cause it's toxic like Chernobyl. Oh, you too? See, I told you, all these time zones invented by them Holly dudes. Arbitrary lines up and down these latitudes. So I'm time traveling every time my body moves. Take my own time line with me when I'm riding through. Let's go. Take your time with you, take your time. Take your time with you, take your time with you, take your time. Take your time with you, take your time with you, take your time. Take your time with you, take your time with you, take your time. Take your time. Now, everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Up all night in NY, up early in Hawaii. Now, everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. Up all night in NY, up early in Hawaii. I need to go travel again, man. Take your time with you. Let's go. Yeah. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. I said, everywhere I go, everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I stay on West Coast time. And that's it. Program KEXP. Yeah.
KEXP, PrometheusBrown, live.
Yeah.
Bruh, it's good to hear you, man.
Yeah. It's surreal to hear myself.
It has been a long time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were just talking about time, and I was just thinking, you know, it was about 20 years ago that I met a young MC named Geologic.
2002, that sounds about right.
Yeah, around there. Since then, you became synonymous with Seattle hip-hop, became a father, restaurateur, photographer. I remember all that. Where are you at right now, 2022?
You know what? All those things you mentioned is still there. But I'm also charting a path as a writer. I've been working on a book that I was supposed to submit the manuscript maybe like 3 years ago, but I'm glad it took this long because it would have missed a whole bunch of stuff that I wasn't ready to talk about, one, and two, all the stuff that's happened in the last like 3-4 years, which is, whew, yeah, can't talk about the last 20 without talking about the last 3, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got a lot of hats, but the one I'm wearing right now that I hope to keep wearing is writing and getting back to this music, which is a big part of the writing process for me.
That's a beautiful thing. It's, like I said, it's just really good to see you doing your thing. You've been an essential part of this scene for that whole time, you know what I'm saying? Whether you were like in it and active like that or not. I know you released a couple EPs back in 2019 on beat rock music. Tell me about the relationship you've got with beat rock.
Yeah, now beat rock, that goes back, as long as I've been doing Blue Scholars, I was also linked up with Kiwi and Bamboo. We did our first show outside of the Northwest down in Florida.
Okay.
In Gainesville, Florida, I believe. University of Florida. They flew us out way back. I think this was like 02, 03. And from that relationship, just looking around the landscape, there were not that many Filipino rappers out there. Like we squatted up real fast. This was like pre-internet, or no, I mean, it was like websites. It was like post.com crash.
Yeah,
so like
right.
Pre-social media, I'll say. So once we started like looking around the landscape, you know, you got Nomi, who was at the time with Odd Jobs in Minneapolis by way of New York. And then he came out to the West Coast. Anytime we was down in LA, you know, this is who we do shows with. And anytime they had an opportunity to come up here, you know, people might remember we had Native Guns, Kiwi and Bamboo at the Mass Line release party.
Yeah, I remember that.
At 2006 at the Showbox. And at the time there was a clothing label, Beat Rock. You know, they were based out of, they were like an arts collective, or it was an art gallery but they also did gear, and it was out in Long Beach. And Fat Gums, who is one of the main producers and the founder of Beat Rock Music, kind of squatted up with them and like, let's make a music division of this larger collective. And the music part just grew as incoming generations of folks who've come in. And now I'm glad to say at this point, if you go to a Beat Rock show, it's, the folks who are coming through, they're coming to see like Ruby Ibarra, Classy, Rocky Rivera. Like, I'm opening up for them now, and it's all good and it's dope. And the whole like first 5 rows is all like young women is dope. So yeah, Beat Rock is a collective. I guess you could say it's a label for lack of a better term, but really it's more of a collective, an idea of, artists who kind of, we looked around the landscape and we're like, yo, who looks like us? Yeah. But it's expanded beyond that into something more inclusive, more forward thinking. Yeah. The music it's obviously very politically aligned with progressive and militant causes, which is a big thing. But even from that, I think there's a full human experience if you look up and down the Beat Rock roster. And
of course, you put out, you as part of the bar, you and Bamboo put out, 3 records?
Yeah, that was my entry point. I was like an affiliate for a long time. Yeah. I didn't get my official badge, but it was one of those things where like a lot of people already thought I was in it. I think I already thought I was in it. Like by the time they announced that I was going to be officially part of the roster and presented me with my chain, actually it was like a carved wood thing, but I was like, oh wow, this dope. This is official. So like when me and Bam finally made that record that we've been meaning to make, PrometheusBrown and Bamboo Walk Into a Bar, 2011. It's been 10 years. I've been with this crew officially for 10 years, but unofficially for even longer.
And I just wanted to kind of get into that so people know about all the music you've been making, even besides the catalog of music you made as Blue Scholars, Sabzi. And you dropped a record, that Blue Dream song you did earlier a couple years ago, and I really felt that at the time. And I know that was for a compilation for a cat who'd been killed by the police, Angelo Quinto. And you're working on music right now.
Yep.
Well, you were talking about the kind of politics and ideals that you and your comrades have always been aligned with. In the last 20 years, you have to have seen that those kind of ideals are more widely discussed, disseminated. People, it's I don't want to say it's mainstream, but it's everywhere.
It's mutated.
Yeah, absolutely. How does that feel now that you're looking back at it?
Man, this is especially amongst people our age.
Yeah.
And I'm embracing it now. Like I'm 42. I think it took 2 years to actually be like, I'm 40 something.
Yeah.
And I'm embracing this. I'm embracing the fact that I have my entire adult life in this game and in militant, progressive, whatever you call it, causes. And yeah, it's gone mainstream, but I think the mainstream is just one mutation of it. And it was inevitable because these are things, there are inequities in society that have been long unaddressed or underaddressed. And that groundswell was always there, and it just required more communication, more organizing. And we were part of that work for many years. And I see some evolutions and mutations that are promising in the ways that they're open to embracing multitudes of identities and ideals. And I see mutations that are narrowing in their focus and like who's allowed, like almost like a cultish club that you got to be a part of. And if you're not following this line, then you're not welcome. And they're just 2 examples, but then I'm just finding out more and more that I'm evolving too.
Yeah.
You know, I do think I got to be real with feeling like I knew a whole lot more than I actually did that whole time. Experience that I had not yet had that I've had now that tell me that those ideals are still as important as ever. But a lot of the ways we operate are internalizations and mirrors of the very system we're fighting. And I think for myself and a lot of people in my generation, burnout is real. Yes. You know, a lot of us who are our age, who are organizers in their 20s and 30s are no longer around. You know, and I salute the ones who are still left, who are doing some self-care and self-preservation so that they can fight for even longer. But I think even I'm going to go off the deep end here, but like, I think even the ways we internalize the fear and urgency of our fight is something that I hope we grow from, because it is not sustainable. Yeah. It's, you know, I think youth continue to be the lifeblood, and we got to feed and nurture that. But at the same time, I think there's a trap in being like, yo, if that's always going to be the focus, then like what happens when people grow out of that? Right. Do they become disposable, and then we just churn the next round of youthful energy and burn them out too? Like, I'm not here for that.
Like you said, that mirrors a lot of these systems that have created these inequities that you're fighting against in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm focused more on that. You know, at this age, I support those on the front lines, but I'm trying to fight this battle like in my own home, in my own body. Yeah. In the daily interactions that I have with people, and a big part of that was actually getting offline. Like, I'm sure people have noticed that, like, there was definitely a year where I was just popping off, like, on all social media platforms and feeding into that energy. And then one day it all stopped, and it hasn't been the same since. And I'm still out there. I'm still lurking. I'm still in my little Discord pockets and Reddit burners and things like that.
Oh yeah, somebody sent me an invite to a server. I wanted to say I'm not even that advanced yet. I'll catch up though.
And I want it to be that way. You know, I miss organic growth. I'm from the word of mouth generation, as are you. Yeah. And I don't think I'm not. You know, so some people are like, yo, you're being nostalgic about a time before all this digital stuff. I'm like, yo, I'm not being nostalgic. Like, that stuff just never went away. Yeah. That's always been the spaces that I've existed more in. I was excited about the newness of the technology and the ways that we could connect with people that we couldn't before. But, you know, to tie that back to the growth of these political movements and ideas, like, that's the good and the bad of it. I think it's dope that a lot more people are equipped with the ideas and the language to navigate all the inequities. At the same time, these platforms were not primarily built for that. It's like the people decided to use that part of it for good. Right. And I've been on a self-exile for, I don't know, like 5-6 years now.
It's good to the brain.
Absolutely.
And the heart to do it. I think when a lot of people think about a lot of the music you've made, especially with the scholars, it's this conception of advocacy for huge sweeping changes, but a lot of what you're talking about is stuff that's always been present, but I really hear it in the music you just performed, and it's about the personal and those stories that are really intimate, and that's been there since the beginning. But I really hear that in a really lived in way in the music that you're performing right now. I just wonder if you talk to me about that, how, you know, that personal growth and how that's coming out.
You know, there's as you were saying that, it reminded me of a saying that a lot of us cultural workers hear, and it's the personal is political, right? Right. And I still believe in that, but
think what I put into practice for a lot of my body of work was the flip side.